Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the FamVestor Podcast. I'm your host, Sunny Burns.
And I'm your co-host, Sunmarie Burns.
Today, we have an exciting episode for you guys. We're talking with Rocky Lalvani. He's a millionaire, has his MBA, and a financial coach. And he's going to talk us kind of through his journey, shortly through his journey, but then also his journey in raising his kids intentionally, giving them, teaching them resilience, resourcefulness, and really a very creative way of parenting to just encourage your kids to go for their dreams, not push them in any one direction, but
yeah, he really digs into the deeper mindsets that help you reach success or, more importantly, happiness and fulfillment in life. So he digs into that, a lot of the psychology behind what truly makes a fulfilling lifestyle and the mindsets you need to have in order to obtain that. And it's a very fascinating episode to really dig deep within, think about your own life and how you can be carving the life of your dreams.
Right. He talks about creating that life plan that kind of directs every decision you make and kind of really understanding what you want to achieve, what you want to do with your life, and whether you're really experiencing the fulfillment and happiness that you want to be going through on your journey towards whatever destination that you're searching for.
Right. And as Sunny said earlier, it's really fascinating to hear and inspiring to hear how he cultivated that mindset in his own life and in his family upbringing and in his children's lives. So it's a really personal story there too, and it's very inspiring.
Right, and he's financially independent now, quit his corporate job recently, and now just doing what he loves to do. So it's an exciting story to dig into. Let's enjoy the show.
You're listening to the FamVestor Podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
Welcome back, everyone. So I'm excited today to be here with Rocky Lalvani. We met about a year ago at a financial meetup, like a financial independence meetup. And it was really cool to meet him because he was a podcaster. I hadn't quite started podcasting yet. So it was cool to pick his brain. He kind of helped me out trying to get this podcast started. So really grateful to him. I look up to him as a mentor. He's a financial coach as well. And just really excited and glad to have him on this show. So let's all welcome Rocky Lalvani to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here, Sonny.
Yeah, so Rocky, I really want to dive deep into financial independence because I know you have a podcast yourself and you talk all about this with tons of guests, and you are also a financial coach, kind of coaching people towards that financial independence. So I want to get into that, but before we do, kind of want to learn a little bit more about your background and your upbringing. And so just, we like to start out with the question, in regards to family, finance, and freedom and the life you now live, where does your origin story begin? How did you kind of grow up?
So I'm an immigrant to the United States. I came here when I was 2. We started off in the not so good parts of New Jersey.
Okay, New Jersey.
And my parents, they were starting over for the second time in their life. They were not allowed to bring a lot of money out of the country. So they basically had to start from scratch. We had some relatives here. We had some friends here in the sense that my parents did. And they just came here and started hustling and working. And literally every year we would move somewhere nicer. And the same was true for all their friends. So within a short period of time, they continued kind of up the economic ladder. Some people did it a lot faster than others. But I would say probably within 10 years, most of the other people had massive financial success.
Wow.
My mom passed away about 5 years after we came. So it kind of put more struggles on my dad to be a single parent. And he wasn't much of a risk taker either. So he kind of took the slow path. He just enjoyed life with the amount of money he made. And with the amount of money he made, we went all over the world. We did all kinds of things. So we did live a great life, but he wasn't on as fast a path as some of the other people were. And then I always just, because I saw the path and I knew people could get success, and that was kind of everyone around us was like, just always talking about success. I just always wanted to be a millionaire. Unfortunately, back then we didn't have the internet, so we didn't have good information. We couldn't figure out how to do this. It was a much more difficult ride. And I remember growing up, like real estate now is not as much of a roller coaster as I think it used to be. It was kind of feast or famine back in the day. With what happened, it would go up and then it would crash, and I guess it really depended on where you were. So it was a stronger struggle. So that's kind of where I came from, and I followed the original traditional path, and my goal was just to build up wealth and retire a little bit early.
Very interesting, to come from a perspective with a community of immigrant families who are really starting from the bottom rung of the ladder and trying to figure out how to build a life in a new country. Interesting perspective, because, they're thinking about that very proactively is what I'm gaining from you, whereas, other people just get set in their ways. But here you are with a unique group of people who are really ambitious, trying to make a life for themselves, sort of out of necessity, but that necessity brings this drive for betterment and creative thinking. So that's a really interesting community to grow up in.
Yeah, and I guess seeing that kind of success, and you said your family, gradually every year after year got better and better accommodations and seemed to grow. And I guess kind of growing up in that environment, you could see what was possible with hard work, I assume, and maybe perhaps living below your means, and just really, I guess, striving towards growth.
You say that you worked in the conventional way to acquire growth. What is the conventional way? I'm curious.
Conventional ways: go to college, get a degree, get a job, work your way up the corporate ladder slowly. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go up the corporate ladder. I don't do well with office politics. So
Yeah.
most of my life I was in sales. The great thing about sales is you have a lot of flexibility, and you also have the ability to make a lot of money. So
Interesting.
it kind of worked out well from that way. I got off of the crazy fast track that's out there because I just thought it was a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And you recently, I guess I want to say you've achieved financial independence where you've retired from your corporate career. Is that correct?
I did. I retired out of my corporate career, and I'm doing the coaching full time now. Full time's not the right word because it's part time. I'm not looking to build a full time business. I just enjoy helping people, and especially on the financial side. And I finally figured out how I could do it in a way that the market was also receptive to pay for it. And so it's been working out great from that standpoint.
That's
But
fantastic.
it's more of a part-time lifestyle retirement business for me.
That's awesome. And can you tell us a little more about your background? You're married. Do you have kids?
Married. I've been married to my wife, Dolly, for over 24 years. We have
Wow.
2 kids, a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old. So my 19-year-old is in college in New York City, enjoying the life of living in the financial district. And my son is a senior in high school, so he'll be going off to college next year. Both my kids, we went to private school. And then towards the end, they realized that they wanted to do more, and school was holding them back. So both my kids homeschooled for the last 2 years of college, and they each did their own individual type of thing. So my daughter had certain things that she wanted to do, and she kind of ran off in that direction. As part of doing that, we learned what a game college is. And I guess I kind of always knew it, but when I went to college, Rutgers was cheap.
Okay.
I could work part-time and pay my tuition and got free housing because I was an RA. So it was an affordable thing. I was never big into school at that point. But now seeing the games and what's going on, it's just atrocious. So for my son, we pulled him out of high school. We stuck him into taking community college classes. So he'll probably graduate high school with maybe 50 credits
Wow,
at a
fantastic.
fraction of the price. So instead of paying retail for college, we're paying wholesale because you
Wow.
get special deals when you're in high school.
So you pulled him out of traditional high school to homeschool him, and your chosen route for the homeschool curriculum is through community college courses. So they're building up this college credit before they're even in
50
officially
credits.
in
That's
college.
amazing.
That is fantastic.
like-
It's a brilliant plan.
Yeah. It's like 15, 18 classes, something like that.
That's a lot.
It's, yeah, because he takes 15 credits a semester. roughly. So 30, 45. We're going light load for this year. He likes to build robots. We compete in robotics.
Nice.
And the other problem is he's going for engineering. So some of the classes won't transfer. Some are this. I'm like, you know what? Have fun. It's your senior year. You're cranking out the credits. It's not a problem. Go enjoy.
So you kind of elaborated in the beginning that you went the conventional route. Do you think your kids are also, you're pushing them towards that conventional route, or kind of you're trying to guide them some other way?
Absolutely not. So my son wants to be an engineer. I think it's going to be somewhat, it's conventional, but it's also high income conventional. So he's going to have the ability to write his own ticket and then come out, make a ton of money, and then decide what he wants to do. Whether he decides to do it for himself or whatever, that's up to him. But because he's going to have super high income, it's really not an issue. And he doesn't spend money, so I don't think that's, like, I chase the American dream. I don't think he really cares.
Okay.
My daughter is, she doesn't want to work for corporate America. She might work in a startup or do something different. She's got very much different kind of skills. She's much more the type of person who wants to work in a company that has values, that meet her values, that she's doing something that she wants to do and enjoys. And she's got the skill sets, the soft skill sets that most people or most kids aren't learning. So from that standpoint, she'll do fine. Like, she knows how to email people and write emails that get responses. She knows how to connect with people. She knows how to connect with people 10x her level. She goes out. She knows how to network. She knows how to fine in front of a room talking to 200 people. She's fine networking. So she's got all the soft skills that will just, no matter where she goes, she'll have success.
Right.
And so we worked on those soft skills well, because that was her thing.
And what is she going for?
Her degree is going to be in business.
Okay.
So it's just a general degree. I mean, you have to get a piece of paper. It really doesn't, unless you're going for engineering or unless you're going for certain specific things, the piece of paper doesn't matter, because most people don't even do what their degree's in.
Right. I mean, I have an engineering degree. I have that piece of paper, but almost nothing I learned in college I use today. It was all on the job experience.
So I have an MBA, and they don't teach you anything about money.
Yeah.
Or how to run a business. It's absurd.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm really not fussing. And actually, it's cool because she got a job where she actually goes into schools locally. I guess they're motivating kids, so they go in and they deliver these programs. They pay her $70 for the first hour and $35 each additional hour. So she's learning skills and getting paid to do them while in college.
That's awesome.
That's a great job to
cranking
have
up
while
her
in
money.
college. Yeah.
Yes.
So it sounds like you've taken a few unique approaches to this college situation. You mentioned you're ready enrolling your kids while in high school in college degree programs and going to community college. Is there any other hacks you've kind of achieved or kind of pursued in their college career?
I don't think there's so much. Well, first of all, is picking colleges that are reasonably priced or will give you big scholarships. Because of our income situation, we're not going to get financial need based on need. So we had to find places where merit aid was what you got. And merit aid is literally based on two numbers. Your SAT scores and your GPA. They don't care who you are, what you do. You literally are SAT, GPA. Okay, you get this much money.
Was GPA a concern at all, being homeschooled the last 2 years?
No, because you get a 4.0.
Okay. Courtesy of Mr. Lalvani.
That is correct. So, and they do well in their college classes too. So it's not a problem. She took a couple college classes.
Right.
But no, GPA wasn't a concern. When you're homeschooled, you have a lot more flexibility of playing that game.
Yeah. Sunray was homeschooled K through 12, and she actually got a high school degree, even though she never went to Maine from a high school in Maine.
Long
credited
distance
her transfer.
Accreditation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I did face some challenges when going to public university because they wanted also, in addition to SATs and GPA, they wanted your class rank. And they wouldn't.
I was first.
I said I was first in a class of one, and they said, nah, we're not going to buy that. Your mommy gave you that. So that caused me some problems in the public university. But I quickly, a year in, transferred into private university, which
you got a full ride.
I got a full ride on merit scholarship.
And I think nowadays homeschooling has really skyrocketed. So I think they're less likely to do that. Between that, cyber-schooling, and half of the schools now aren't even giving rank because, God forbid, we rank you.
It's true. Yeah, they've been doing away with that. Very interesting.
It's kind of changed.
Cool.
Yeah, so Rocky, I mean, moving a little away from your story and moving kind of towards the, financial independence, and, we're trying to pursue financial independence. We're kind of going the real estate route where we're buying investment properties. We have 3 properties under our names right now, and we're trying to achieve financial independence by bringing this passive income streams. Can you define for us what financial independence is?
So I think it's a different number for everyone. Financial independence is the ability to do what you want, when you want, how you want. And that's a question for you. What kind of lifestyle do you want? And within financial independence, there's a lot of different people. There's Mr. Money Mustache at one end who wants to live on under $30,000 a year and ride his bicycle. And that's not my lifestyle. I want nice stuff. I want to live a nicer life. Mm-hmm. It's cold where I live. I'm not riding a bicycle. It's life. So I think it's figuring it out for you. What do you need? What do you want? And what's really important, I think too often we chase things and materialism, and I did that when I was young, that isn't necessary. Like you'll find after a certain while, the stuff doesn't make you happy. It burdens you because everything needs to get taken care of then. And then you have all these obligations. Right. And the more you have, the more obligations you end up with. So find the balance for yourself, what you're happy with. And everyone's got a different temperature that they want to be at. And that's okay.
Right. So that's a good point you make, is to really go within and self-reflect on what it is in life that you do truly need, so you're not keeping up with the Joneses just because you're really pursuing what's actually important to you. I like that point that you're making there.
So let's just talk about that. Let's dig a little bit deeper into it, and maybe you guys have or haven't. Do you guys have a written life plan?
Just like a 5-year plan.
Okay. But so that's a financial success, or like some of your goals, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not a bigger plan. Like, what do you want out of life? Like, what is your bigger picture thing? And that's what I think. The moment you know where you're going, everything becomes easy. When you have clarity on the direction you're taking, how you're getting there, what you want, everything, like decisions are no longer hard because you know what you want. And so taking the time to actually do that, I think, is important. And the reality is when you do that, you're a lot younger than I am. When you're 25, you want one set of things. When you're 35, you want another set. At 45, every 10 years, you probably should revisit your life plan and make adjustments, because your mind changes, your desires change, and then you set your next bigger course. I think the core values aren't going to change, right? But some of the directions may change during that time. The book that I love for that, it's Living Forward by Michael Hyatt. I think, do I have it? I probably do. Yeah, I do. Living Forward. There it is. Michael Hyatt. And so that book is really cool because it's an easy read. It gives you the template, and it gives you the step-by-step of how you create your plan. And at the end of 2 to 3 months, you have a written document. And even if you don't sit down and read, he tells you to read the document every week for like the first month or so. But just the fact that you actually think through it and get clarity is a big, big part of it.
Right. So I guess we don't have anything as formal as that, but we're both on the same page where we know somebody wants to stay home with our kids, and and because of that we've been pursuing this financial independence goal, where we don't need dual incomes to survive, and so that's why, like kind of you were saying, we don't want to accumulate all those things. We'd rather buy our freedom, and that purpose, that plan has made it very clear for us. We're not buying that because it's taken away from us being able to buy that freedom. So I guess, can you elaborate perhaps? Like, what is this financial plan? Is it like a one-page document? Is it just a sentence, a blurb about what your mission statement in life is?
So it's a whole bunch of different things. But before I do that, the two of you had conversations about what you each wanted, didn't you?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, most people don't do that. Most people don't actually listen to what their spouse is saying and what they want. They make decisions for them without actually thinking or listening, I should say, to the other person. So congratulations for doing that and for actually, having the conversations, because I think that's a big part of it. Too often you'll see husband and wife going in different directions, or they're not clear on what they want. And if one of you doesn't know what you want, then the other one's dragging you along.
Right.
So that comes up a lot, I think, in the financial independence community. I'm going this way, but my wife's not on board, right? That happens a lot. So both of you need to have that clarity. So what it is, basically, it's a multi-page document. It's not this book. I mean, you're talking 3 to 5 pages. It starts out with your eulogy. So begin with the end in mind.
Wow.
What do I want the world to say about me? And then it breaks it down, and you have to pick your categories. So one of them is, what is your relationship with your wife? What does your married life look like? And it's different for everybody, right? Some people may not want to be married. Some people do this, that. If you have kids, what are your goals for your kids? What are your goals? How are you going to make money? What are you doing for your health? What are you doing spiritually? How are you giving back? So you're looking at all these different parts of life, and you have to pick the parts of life that are important to you. And then for each one, you've got basic, maybe a quote that kind of guides that part of your life. And then maybe some basic bullet points, but it's not goal oriented, right? It's not,
objective based.
It's not objective based. It's more broader based. So I'm going to be in great health. I'm going to be physically fit and have a regular routine for working out. My workout plans are going to get me into nature because I prefer to do that. So it's not so specific, but it's a broader based plan that can follow you for a larger part of life.
That's cool. And ideally, would you make this life plan together as a couple if you're married, or would you say advise just doing it individually?
I think you should do it individually, because your plan might not be her plan. Then you've got to figure out where because you can go in different directions, but still be together.
Right. I think that's a valid point, because if you work on it together, then you run the risk of one partner who doesn't have as much of an opinion on it, just going along with whatever the other feels is more important, without truly going within themselves to really reflect on that. So if you do it separately and then share it with one another and have those discussions, those conversations, you can really figure out truly what's important to each one.
And you can see where there might be conflicts. And then you have to work it out.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of, I love all this life plan stuff. That's kind of right up my alley. We're always, writing 5-year plans. We're making goals. And so we're not talking goals per se, but just like kind of objectives, and but just living life intentionally. And that kind of seems to be what you're espousing through this life plan.
So
exactly.
My question to you is this, because I feel like we run into this often when we are giving presentations or talking to younger folks, and we're advising them, you've got to figure out what you want in life, where you want to go, and where you're headed. And I find that probably 1/3 of the people we talk with find it somewhat unrelatable, because they feel they prefer to be go with the flow people. How do you respond to someone who just kind of feels they prefer to go with the flow and just see where life takes them without a larger plan, can that work toward financial independence and a fulfilling life? Or is it really pretty much you need to have a direction, otherwise nothing can come of it? What's your thoughts on that?
So the book is Living Forward, a proven plan to stop drifting and get what you want. So for those people, do not read Living Forward. There's a better book for you. It's by Napoleon Hill, and it's not the one you all think it is. It's called Outwitting the Devil.
Ooh, I like that one.
It was written in the 1930s, and his family would not allow him to publish it. It did not get published until I think about 2011. And it's basically about a conversation with the devil and how does the devil win? And the devil wins when you're in the drift, when you have no purpose and you're just going along. So be it. You know what? You may drift into a great life. You may also drift into a waterfall. Mm-hmm. And so you want to go ahead. I don't try and convince people of anything. I'm like, have fun. Don't call me on the way down because I won't be there. Pack a parachute.
So Rocky, in your shoes as a financial coach, when you're coaching people through this, this intentionality, like you address this, have this life purpose or life plan, where do you want to go? What else do you kind of help them with?
So first and foremost, I have all my clients go through the Living Forward book because until I know where you're going, I don't know what you want. Second of all, we do the financial plans. We put pen to paper. We go through the numbers. We actually look at them.
Like their income and their expenses.
Income, expenses, investments, their tax returns. We look at everything.
Okay.
And then it's a question of what do you want? How are we going to put the plans to get you where you want to go? And how does it all work? Now, understand, most of the people I work with are multimillionaires. So most of them already know how to make money. Mm-hmm. What they're missing is the other parts of life. Like, hey, I made all this money, but I'm missing something in life. I don't have it because they didn't have clarity. They were drifting or they got put on a track. Their parents said, you're going to be this, or a school teacher said, go here and do this. And they went and started climbing a mountain and they never asked, is this the mountain I want to climb? And they get a good way up the mountain and they're like, I have all this money and I'm supposed to be happy and something's missing. So that's where a lot of my clients come in.
Yeah, no, I think that's fascinating. And Rocky, you're a millionaire yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess, everyone has this ideal goal. I wouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people, coming out of college, they put in their 4 years getting this fancy degree and their goal is, make a ton of money and then they'll be happy. And I feel like that's, the common
it's a common mindset.
Yeah, common mindset.
If only I had more money, then I would be happier.
Right.
And so it's actually, if only blank, then I will be happy. So when I make managing partner, I'll be happy. When I get promoted, I'll be happy. When I have the big house, I'll be happy. When I get the fancy car, I'll be happy. You have to be happy now. You can't fill in the blank.
That's a very good point. Because at any point in your life, you can and should be happy with where you're at. Doesn't mean don't be ambitious to reach higher heights, but figure out what is causing you your discontentment, because it might be a deeper issue. Like a lot of times I think people focus too single-mindedly on one track in their life, as you're saying, like maybe a career goal or a monetary goal, but not looking at the whole person and the needs of a whole person for true happiness.
And that's true. And I know there are quite a few people in the FI community who achieve financial freedom on a super fast path. And all they did was focus on that. And when you ask them what their number one regret is, the answer is always the same. I missed out on life.
Didn't enjoy the journey.
I didn't enjoy the journey. And some of them got divorced. Some of them missed out on relationships and a whole bunch of other things. So, you have to enjoy the journey. And it is a struggle. It's not like it's an easy journey. Easy journeys don't end in great place. Life is a struggle. So accept that. Most people don't have an easy life. We all have our issues, and you just have to accept that, though. And that's a hard thing to do, I think.
So what do you feel about those people? Like, maybe you have some of these clients who aren't those multimillionaires yet, but they're, have a good wage, good income, and they're trying to achieve those 70-80% savings rates so that they could retire early. But what do you encourage them in that way, or do you kind of tell them to take a step back, or really just analyze, how they're feeling in life right now, and whether it's that too much of a sacrifice?
I think that's a question, is how much of a sacrifice is that? I mean, if you're super high income, then maybe it's not a big deal. But if you're freezing every night because the heat's off, and, you have issues, and enjoy, like, that's a super high savings rate. I've never been anywhere near that. And I don't encourage people that they have to go anywhere near that. You've got to find the right balance for you. I think that's the biggest thing, is take the time to figure out what works for you. And everyone's going to have their own plan. If you're following someone else's plan, you're going to be unhappy because it wasn't yours, it was theirs. And I think that's what happens to too many people in life. They're following someone else's plan, not their own plan. And that's, I think, where the real unhappiness comes from.
So how did you try to guide your children then? Like, you didn't want to like push them towards like engineering, or how did you kind of guide them that way?
We did not. So we've never told them what they should do. What we did was work on skill sets. What are the skill sets that are valuable? A big skill set that's valuable is critical thinking, learning how to think, how to discern. Is something true? Is it real? Why did you come to that conclusion? How do you understand that? Learning how to learn. So constantly learning new things, being comfortable and having confidence and comfort in your own skin to be able to go in front of groups, to meet people, to do that, to be comfortable, to be able to have conversations, to be able to think. Just the basic soft skills that we don't teach anymore. And so that's what we more so focused on. And then where you do it is just a platform. So I coach soccer, but I don't coach soccer to teach kids how to put a ball in a goal. That's kind of a small goal. I use soccer as a platform to teach you to be men, because I did boys soccer. Like, how do you lead? How do you help each other? How do you behave? How do you handle defeat? We always had a saying, we never lose. You either win or learn. So, creating the right mindsets, learning how, like in the game of soccer, we systematized it, right? When X happens, you do Y. We know X is going to happen. We know this is how everyone else is going to behave. So you're going to do Y. And that's how we would get advantage on the court. So learning how to do that. And then just being respectful, taking responsibility for yourself, having grace, figuring it all out for yourself. Walk in a way that people are proud of you. So it's the soft skills, I think. Anyone can, and that's what you're hearing from employers today. Employers no longer are caring about your skill sets, because they're like, I can teach you what you need to know here. Because as you said before, you went through college and nothing you knew made sense for the workplace anyway. I can teach you how to use my software. I can teach you how to do this job. What I can't teach you is how to get along with the coworker, how to pick up the phone time and time again and face rejection, or please our customers, or go the extra yard. Those are the things. Or figure out, hey, if things aren't working, take responsibility and go do something about it, right? Come up with a new idea, help the business grow. All of those are skills that are learned. Those are the ones that are valuable.
I feel you bring up a really good point there. And I love what you said earlier about the soccer analogy. You never lose. You either win or you learn. And I think that, it's a phrase you hear a lot. Nobody loses anymore. Everybody's a winner. But it is almost in a in a very shallow perception of just like making everyone's ego feel good and no one's hurt feelings, rather than actually focusing on the learning lessons that could be happening there. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts about, in today's world, a common concern for parents and schools, and I think also corporate America is worrying about next generation coming up, that a lot of them, due to teaching to the testing and other things, a lot of education is being left to just skill teaching and not so much the character building. And with technology and so forth, we're facing perhaps young people who are a little bit alienated from learning those lessons in life. What do you suggest as ways that parents can kind of help children build those skill sets? You mentioned soccer earlier. Are there other ways parents can really tap in? Do you have maybe a book that could help even parents understand what they should be teaching, those broader goals?
So I don't have a book. I'll tell you what a buddy of mine is doing, and I'll tell you what I did. So a friend of mine has a site called 10K to Talent. And basically the attitude is it takes 10,000 hours to build a skill. Mm-hmm. So why are you waiting till you're out of college? Why not start building a skill at 12 years old? Mm. So what are your natural skills that your kids have? What do they enjoy doing? Use those skills and that natural knowledge, connect them with people, and start building the skill. And then you can, once you know how to build skills and do something and connect and start a business, well, regardless of whether that business fails or not, you now have the skill set to do it over and over and over again. So one of his kids flies drones, and they go over undeveloped land, and then they do the video, and then they come back and they do the graphics to drop in like, hey, here's how all these buildings are going to come into here. Right. So they help, and that's a valuable service. Or you could even do real estate videos. One of his kids is a podcast editor. He edits my show. Oh, right. Cool. He started when he was 12. He's phenomenal at the editing and the quality of the work that he puts out. So he's learning to do that. He's doing voiceover stuff. All of his kids have whatever their skills are. That's what they give them the opportunity to do that. So I've done the same thing. So when my daughter was homeschooling for the last 2 years, she went to Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. She went to see Seth Godin. She went to Brendan Burchard.
Wow.
So she was in the room with high performance people, having conversations, learning from them. We used to go to, were you at FinCon?
I was this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So you saw Ramit, right?
Yeah. He did an awesome job.
He did an awesome job. So Ramit used to have a program called RBT, Ramit's Brain Trust. And there used to be meetups. So I would take my daughter when she was 13, and we would go to these meetups with a bunch of other adults, and she would go have conversations. Hey, what regrets do you have now that you're 28 about what you did in college? What would you tell your 18-year-old self? So she started to learn all of these types of things.
That's awesome.
So you put them out in the adult world. Mm-hmm. For my son, he's more engineering, so it's robotics. We build robots that we compete with. He's got the ability to go do what he wants. And because he's out there doing it, and he's talking to engineers, and when they see kids who are doing stuff, they open up all the doors to them. So he connected with a local engineering company a couple of years ago. And he goes in, he's like, they had a laser cutter, which is kind of what brought us to them. And so they let us use their laser cutter. And then they started having conversations. So he's meeting with the president of the company all the time. Here's my robot. Here's my struggle. How do we fix this? And they go back and forth. So last year, at the end of his junior year, they said, hey, we normally do college internships for the summer. We'd like to offer you one. Wow. So he got to play with a CNC machine all summer. And literally, the guy said, by the time he's done, he's like, yeah, he's already had the experience that most college seniors have working in the shop. So just get out in the world and do stuff. Stop doing kid stuff. Mm-hmm. All this pretend kid stuff is a waste of time and money. Mm-hmm. You guys are doing real estate, take them out and show them rentals. Make them fix the rentals. Do the work. Learn how to pick up the phone and make phone calls and screen tenants and, create the ad to go on Cozy. Do there's so many things kids can do. They can build websites. They can start an Etsy store. Like, just go do stuff. Stop waiting and stop playing in a kid's game.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I love the intentionality there, and also just the action, taking the action, not just reading a book or studying a textbook, but actually living it and really making it come to life.
Right. Like, I think one of the main roadblocks you have to overcome is that idea of like, oh, well, they are just a child, maybe they're not ready for this, but maybe they are. What makes, the hypothetical learning any more valid for them than the real hands-on experience?
Yeah, reality, the real school of life is where, you learn the most, just doing it, living it, and going through the little problems that come up with every endeavor you pursue.
Right.
So I think that's a mindset shift. We put our kids in school and we expect them to teach them. Mm-hmm. Our attitude was like, okay, school's fine, but we're going to teach you what you need to know. Mm-hmm. That's okay, but that's not going to get you anywhere.
So even while your children were in school, you at home were also honing these skills with them.
Oh yeah, all the time. Like literally from the time, for even just going into kindergarten, they already had the skills. But then at the end of every school year, the conversation with the teacher is, what were the issues? And we would spend all summer working on the issues. And then we would also spend all summer pushing forward on the things they excelled at. Mm-hmm. So that when they go back to the school year, the things they excel at, okay, I can just crank through this so I don't have to worry about it. And now I have the time to focus on the things I'm struggling on, and I'm not crunched. Mm-hmm. And they also learn the skill of, okay, I don't know how to do this yet. Mm-hmm. I can learn how to do this. I've learned the process of learning, so it's okay. And I can go through these things and continue to improve and continue to do better.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I love
it's all the way from, we started from the time they were babies.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the resilience you're building in them and just the resourcefulness of, like you said, just a continual learner. If I don't know anything, I know how to look it up and learn how to do it. But I'm curious, you say like your daughter went to like Tony Robbins conference or something. I'm thinking back to myself when I was 16 years old. I would be so scared out of my mind. I don't think I would go. How did you
get her out of her shell?
Get her out of her shell, build up that mindset. Like, was there anything
without that
just her personality,
inner voice with an inferiority complex,
or just like, I'm just too young to do this, or right.
So you're building all the way from the beginning. If you start at the beginning and you constantly build confidence, then that thought is never there. So we would do that with the basics, like toilet training, right? It used to be that 95% of kids were toilet trained at 2. Now 5% of kids are toilet trained at 2. And what happens is they get scared of the toilet, right? So we would just put our kids on the toilet when they learned how to sit. 10, 12 months, you're already, we're ahead of the curve before you even know to be fearful. We're going to put you in that situation so that you'll never learn to be fearful. Public speaking, they learned in school from a very early age. They were constantly doing public speaking so that you never learn the fear. And when they did have the fear, then the confidence to stand behind them and say, look, we'll help you, we'll support you, we'll figure it out. Like when my kids were 4th, 5th grade and they had to do book reports, we'd get out the video camera and we'd be like, let's go. We're going to record you, watch yourself, we'll play it back. We're going to sharpen you. So it was always intentional that we're going to do these things. And so my kids they expected it. It wasn't.
Right. I love the hands-on involvement you have with your children. I feel like that's something that does kind of fall by the wayside sometimes. The expectation that someone else is going to handle that for you, and that never gets handled at all. But that really, as a parent, regardless of whether you put your kids in school or you homeschool, you need to be in the mix there. You need to be guiding that. That's your primary role as a parent, is to really be that mentor for your children.
I was always at school too. So I was always involved in stuff, and we never had the awkward teenage years. I could walk into my son's class when he was 13 years old and hug him.
Nice.
Be like, no big deal. Like it wasn't an issue.
That's
because
awesome.
that was just the way we lived life.
Wow. So Rocky, I mean, I love the way that, it sounds like you've brought up your family, and I feel like a lot of people love that message. When you meet a young family, like what words of advice do you usually have for them, or words of wisdom?
I think the first thing is get clarity, know what you want, figure out what the two of you want, figure what are your goals for your kids? Like, what do you want for them? What are your financial goals? Look at your numbers. Just be intentional with everything. And it's not to say that you should follow your plan or my plan. Figure out what you want and how it works for you, and don't worry about anyone else. So I think that's a big part of it and it's what we've been talking about all along, is just having clarity and intentionality and showing up and doing the work. It's not that hard, but you just do it. And I think for a lot of people, especially if you're stuck in the work cycle, then it's hard because you don't have time off. And if you've got yourself in a situation like that, it's time to change. And we didn't even talk about side hustles as another way to build financial independence. If you don't want real estate, side hustles that over time build up can get you out of your job too. So there's tons of paths. You got to figure out what works for you.
Right. And, we talk a little bit about financial success and things like that, but I feel like we're kind of touching on a much deeper meaning of success. How do you define success?
The easiest way, I'm not going to say success. I'm going to say happiness.
Okay.
Do you wake up? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Are you excited about your day? Does it matter that it's Monday? Like, Monday is the same to me as Saturday. It's no like TGIF. Like, why? Like, even when I was working, we were busy on the weekends because of the kids and stuff. So it's like, every day is life.
Right.
Enjoy them all. And if you can't, then you have a problem. Go fix it.
I love that. So what's getting you up excited in the morning, Rocky?
So I have my new venture, which is profit comes first. What I found out is there's all these smart people, right, on the financial independence side. A big aha to me was that business owners don't like to look at their numbers. They don't like to look at their financials. It's akin to a root canal for them. It's like, how do you run a business and not look at the business of your business? Like, this is absurd. And so it created a big aha moment. And then that is a market. So business owners are much more likely to spend money because they see a return on their investment immediately. So it was, okay, here's the need, here's the niche, here's the people willing to pay. And it's just a lot of fun to help people break through those barriers and struggles. I mean, it's the same thing like coaching soccer. The first time a kid scores a goal, it like changes his whole world. The next time he shows up at a game, he's a whole different person. Now we're doing it for adults, right? We're teaching people in the game of business how to change the way they look at things. And it's fun. I only work with people that are cool and fun and exciting. So I don't have to deal I'm around fun people all the time, and people are growing, and I'm learning from them. They're learning from me, and it's just a blast.
Wow. That sounds cool. So, you left your corporate career. I'm curious to know, what does your average day kind of look like?
So I usually wake up about 6 a.m. or I have workouts that I do at home. I was doing them 5 days a week. I just added a sixth. So generally working out 6 days a week in the morning. That usually takes about an hour. Sometimes if I go to the gym, depending on the routine. Nowadays, it seems to take a little bit longer because I'm not rushed. So like before, I used to stack up exercises and try and crank through. Now I just kind of take my time at the gym, and I don't fuss through it. I come home from that. It's shower, and sometimes I'll take cold showers, just wake the body up. And then I have a morning routine, which includes meditation, reading, and doing that. So that usually ends up half hour, 45 minutes between the meditation, the reading, and that kind of stuff. So that's usually what the morning looks like. And then cranking out emails, doing any kind of creative work. And then depending on the day, either I'm planning for podcasts, planning for my clients, doing, routine work like that. I think this month has been nuts. I think I'm going to be like 5 or 6 books. I just seem to have been cranking them out for whatever reason this month. So I do a lot of reading. As part of my new thing, I've got to learn a lot of learning with that. So a lot of learning for that. And then now as part of the business, I'm just getting out into the business community and meeting people. So a ton of different events that I'm going to constantly. And then my kids are in robotics. So I got robotics practice usually on the weekends or something going on with that. What else do I do all day? Getting on other shows, hopping on just like today I had a conversation with somebody in my mastermind. So Tuesdays I have a lot of mastermind stuff. I have my morning mastermind, which is a men's group. And then I have a podcast mastermind. And then I'm taking a wealth building class. So usually there's an office hours every week. So I hop on that a lot we just have conversations around money. I'm on a couple of different things where we just have a lot of conversations about life and money from a big picture thinking perspective. So I do that a bunch, connecting with just people all the time. People are reaching out and just hopping on and helping people and having conversations.
What is a mastermind? I don't think we've ever discussed that on the show.
Oh, so the masterminds have been around forever. They go back to different times and they've taken on different names. Basically, a mastermind is a group of people come together. And the way that they're run now, and most good masterminds are run now, it's a small group. So 5 to 10 people. You meet fairly regularly. So maybe every week, maybe every other week. And it's coming together. Hey, how was your week? What are your wins? What are you struggling with? And then usually 1 or 2 people will be in the hot seat. Okay, what's your issue? And you're going to talk about your issue. And then 7 or 8 people are going to give you feedback. And it's a hot seat. So, you're going to get called out.
And you're doing this online, in person?
They can be in person. They can be online video conferencing, depending on what kind of a mastermind you're in. And then sometimes we'll be reading a book every month or something, or there'll be someone coming on to do a lecture to improve you. So it's a constant improvement. You're being held accountable. You also now have essentially a brotherhood of people who are there for your back, who help each other. So it's a variety of different things, but it's literally like having your band of brothers to help you make you better. But it's not a social hangout. It's hey, we're going to work on ourselves and make ourselves better hangout.
How do you find masterminds? I wouldn't even know where to start searching.
So it's difficult. You can create your own. So if you happen to know a good group of people, you make your own. There are paid masterminds. There are so many paid masterminds. I mean, you can be in a paid mastermind with Richard Branson. You can be in a mastermind with Tony Robbins. I think it costs like ungodly amounts of money for those guys, right?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of smaller business leaders who do masterminds. So there's a ton of different ones that are out there. You just have to find somebody that's got a good one, that's got one where the biggest problem with masterminds is if the people don't show up and they don't contribute and they don't hold each other accountable. So that's the biggest problem. Having a good curated mastermind is a godsend. And like the mastermind I'm in, I think there's guys starting out, there's young guys, and then there are multiple millionaires. Like when I say I like these guys are well into the millions. So they're all over the place.
Awesome.
So what I'm hearing from you is a lot of investment into self-development and continuous growth. Would you say that's a key factor for success in life and for creating forward momentum, is just keeping yourself entrenched in learning and developing and thinking about what your goals and objectives are? Would you say that's the case?
Absolutely. Our learning budget is probably the last couple of years and things have really taken off in the last couple of years, we've probably been spending over $20,000 a year
Wow.
on
So-
self-improvement.
Wow.
So going to events, doing things, belonging to groups, one-on-one coaching, all of those kinds of things.
And you've seen a direct correlation with the more you're investing this time and energy into these learning opportunities, you're seeing more growth in yourself?
Tremendous growth. Now, I'm going to give you a warning.
Mm-hmm.
The one area where this really is horrible is real estate. There are so many bad paid masterminds and so many bad paid learning programs that it's atrocious. So you really need to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice in the real estate space especially, it's a lot of hype,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of sales, and people are spending $30,000-$40,000 and not even buying a house,
Mm-hmm.
and all their money is gone because
Mm-hmm.
they spent it on the courses. So just be careful what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And everything has an appropriate time. So everything is start slow, try different things. There are free programs out there. You don't have to, like, I go to free real estate groups locally.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of stuff from Bigger Pockets. I'm big fans of theirs. Like, go listen to Bigger Pockets. It's all free. You get so much without paying a penny.
Right.
Where you need the help is maybe if you're going to actually buy the house and you don't have someone who's going to walk that first deal with you, paying a local real estate investor who will walk the deal with you a couple $1,000 is probably worth it. It will help you prevent mistakes. And there's a lot of guys who will do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
So
I had someone do it for free on our first deal, our first 4-fam.
Made a huge difference.
Just messaged him on Bigger Pockets.
Right.
there you go.
We may not have been able to pull the trigger if we hadn't.
Yeah, we were on the fence.
Yeah.
And so, for at the beginning, don't pay. As you start to grow and you start to have more specialized needs and you're working on certain things. And the other thing for us is we're paying to save time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we have the ability to do so. If I didn't have the money, I wouldn't pay.
Right.
If you don't have the money, don't pay.
Right. That's good advice. I think a lot of people get inspired that they want to pursue an idea, and the first thing they think is, oh, I got to go learn more about this. But then they start, they fall prey to all of these places they're dropping their money where really they didn't have to. They could have got it from a book, or a free course or something, and they could have saved that money for something like starting up their startup rather than dropping it all in an expensive course.
Correct. And I think for pretty much anything that you need to learn today, most of it is free. Mm-hmm. Where you're going to spend your time is digging through to get the best resources.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have the money, spend the time. I had the money and I was busy with the kids and everything else. So it was better for us to just spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find your space and how that works for you. Mm-hmm. And books are cheap. So always get books.
Yeah.
They're the cheapest, fastest way to learn.
Well, Rocky, this conversation definitely went differently than I thought it was going, but definitely some awesome rabbit holes we dug into. Is there anything you wish I asked you that we didn't discuss?
You know what? The one piece of advice that I will tell people is just take action. Just try things. I tell people to leap with a parachute, which means don't do something that's going to cause you massive failure. If it goes wrong, because it will go wrong, it's, everything goes wrong the first time you do it. Just try little things and figure out a way forward. When you know where you want to go and you're clear about it, things just happen. So if you're saying, hey, I want to buy my first real estate property and I don't have money, or I want to start a business, you can bootstrap a business easily. With real estate, maybe you get 5 guys together and, you go in on a deal together and you figure out a way. Just when you start going a direction and you start taking action, things just start happening. But you've got to take the first step. And that's the hardest step. It's a lot harder to go from 0 to 1 than it is to go from 1 to 100.
Wow, awesome advice. Couldn't agree more. Rocky Lalvani, if people, love your mindset, they want to reach out to you, find out more about you, listen to your podcast, where's the best way to kind of get in contact with you and your resources?
So the podcast and most of my musings about life are at Richer Soul, so richersoul.com. If you're a small business owner and you're looking to put profit first in your business, it's profitcomesfirst.com. And those are the two places. There's email links on there, and you can reach me. And for the most part, I respond to most of the emails. So if you got good questions, and happy to help.
Rocky, thanks so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast being here tonight.
Awesome. Have a good one.
Take care.
Thanks.